guys, it's Carl. So in case you didn't know, OnePlus actually just dropped a tablet, the OnePlus Pad, and typically OnePlus is known for their smartphones. So this is the OnePlus 11, the latest one that they have. And interesting move by them. I didn't really see this one coming, but I have it here early. You can see here, it's a very OnePlus inspired looking device. So it's got, of course, the iconic OnePlus badging. And in case you didn't know, OnePlus is officially owned by Oppo now. They're underneath that Oppo brand, but they're still continuing to push out their own devices, and it's even in the iconic OnePlus colorway of 2023, which is green. So in the OnePlus 11, this is eternal green. It's a lot lighter, whereas this, which is a bit more of a forest green, this is called Halo green. So if you are a green fan, I guess now is the time to rejoice. The unboxing experience, very much like the phone, more of that red branding on the insides. I've always loved OnePlus packaging, and of course you have the user manual's warranty info in this little red packet. And underneath, we do have a Super VOOC charger. It's 67 watts, but strangely enough, you have that USB-A port on the back, and you still get another piece of iconic OnePlus tech. It's that ever visible red USB-C to that USB-A cable, and this does have a pretty fast charging time. So the tablet itself has a 9510 milliamp hour battery. You can get a full charge in 60 minutes. And one of the big specs of this guy is its standby time. So you get around 30 days of standby. And when I initially unboxed this, I've had this actually close to a month. I put it back in the box as it was on the list to do. It was just kind of calmly sitting in the box, and I don't think I went under 35% battery life. So it is pretty dope. But looking around the rest of the design, like I said, it's very OnePlus looking. It even has that very large camera sensor on the back, which is middle placed. It is a 13 megapixel shooter. It takes half decent photos as long as the lighting is good. It is center mounted, so the intended use is meant to be in this landscape orientation, which you'll see in a second when I combine it with the keyboard case combo. So this is actually the first tablet, the first in the world, they say, with a 7:5 aspect ratio. 11.61 inch display, just under 12 inches, 2800 by 2000, and a 144 hertz refresh rate with 500 nits of brightness. In this form factor, I guess it is quite a bit easier to read content. It's more bookish. I'm a fan of this aspect ratio because I tend to consume most content in portrait form when I'm browsing the net, when I'm looking through web pages, and only switch it to landscape when I'm consuming actual video content. When I'm watching Netflix, I've watched YouTube videos on this, it's been great. But when actually using the tablet, I find that my hands rest weirdly on the camera sensor. So I find it strange that OnePlus is sticking to this aspect ratio, which I like, but the camera placement makes it a bit odd. It's kind of counterintuitive. When you are watching landscape, the content, because of that aspect ratio, does get some pretty big bars on the side. So of course you can always pinch to zoom depending on what you're watching. But when you are consuming it in that, I guess, portrait form, you still get a lot more than a traditional 16:9. So it's obviously a bit of give and take. One thing I have noticed though, for example, I was watching The Mandalorian trying to catch up on my episodes. I was actually traveling with this on a trip. I was watching it in my hotel room. The speaker quality of this is actually pretty decent. There's 4 speakers built in, and it's a noticeable upgrade if you're especially watching most content on your phone, even from my OnePlus device to say my iPhone, which I typically travel around with. It's a nice thing to have, obviously. Benefits of having a larger device, the larger display, hence why you would travel with a tablet. On the inside, it's powered by the MediaTek Dimensity 9000, so one of the latest flagships by MediaTek. The silicone on the inside is good. It's got 8 gigs of RAM. For the most part, a pretty stutter and lag-free experience. I've always been a fan of Oxygen OS, and I think the biggest stutter experience that I've got is actually when you rotate it from a portrait to landscape. There's sometimes the hint of lag, which you can kind of see on video here. It just kind of takes an extra half second sometimes to rotate. I'm sure that can be fixed pretty easily in a software update, but it's just that occasional little hiccup which I do notice. It does come in at $479 US or $649 Canadian, so around that mid-tier price. But if you did place a pre-order, depending on the region you were in, $99, you could get either the magnetic keyboard combo or the stylus. Hopefully you opted for the keyboard combo. It's the better of the accessories. It's the one that I would definitely recommend getting. I think it makes the tablet experience so much better, a bit more laptop-esque, obviously. It's nice and simple design. The faux leather, green leather on the outside. It does have that hole punch cut out in the middle. It does give me an extra little bit of wiggle, a bit more than I'd want on the outside, which you can actually kind of see here. I am glad though on the inside the wrist pads are in aluminum. It's nice to see those not in that leather. That's usually the area on cases which wears down the quickest. The keys are nice and spaced. It's got some decent travel. It's got really nice tactile feedback to it. It actually sounds great. My one thing though, the trackpad, which gives good feedback, is just a tad bit small for my taste. But overall, it's the accessory to get. You could also get the stylus, which I mentioned. It's nowhere in the league of what the Apple Pencil is. It feels honestly a bit too lightweight. It almost feels like it's missing the battery inside. It's easy to pair. It snaps to the top and charges just like the Apple Pencil does. Finding the charging spot for it is a little bit harder. It's actually not in the middle. It's off center with the tip facing out, and it'll charge up in a couple minutes and it's good to use. Once again, not as good as the Apple Pencil, not as responsive, and it just doesn't have that nice weight to it, which since I'm a big stationery fan, I'm all around having a pen that has substantial weight. I guess this is lighter, which would make it easier to hold, but it just feels a bit on the cheap side for me. But yeah, that's kind of been my experience with the OnePlus Pad. I like the form factor, and especially if you're a OnePlus fan. I know the cult following has slowly been dying out over the years, but that's the nice thing about being in the ecosystem. If you have this, obviously the tablet, you could even grab the OnePlus Buds. They all kind of talk to each other. Switching between devices, transferring data between all of them is of course just that tad bit easier, and that's nice to have all of the same devices from the same brand. So let me know your thoughts if you are picking one up. I think you can get by without a stylus, and if you are an artist, if you're dead set on using one, I'd still say go towards an iPad. Even the entry-level one still has a better Apple Pencil experience, but still solid combo. Definitely get the keyboard combo magnetic case with it. Just don't mind the extra bit of wobble, and I'll catch the rest of you in one of my next ones. Peace.